Just when you think the NASCAR news is over, it is not. We are going to be talking about the 2024 Indy 500, which is 500 days away. You may be wondering, how is this related to NASCAR? And why are we talking about the 2024 Indy 500, not the 2023 one, just in a few months? We're talking about 500 days from now. Well, it's because this guy. He's in NASCAR. I don't know if you've heard of him. Kyle Larson, the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion. It was announced today will be running in the 2024 Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500 is one of the biggest races in the world for motorsports in Indianapolis, obviously. The 2.5 mile oval, it's had over 100 races there for the Indy 500, and there's been tons of drivers who have competed in it from different forms of international motorsports have competed in it. Lots of different winners, obviously. So we've seen a lot of people within motorsports race in this race. We've even seen some NASCAR drivers race in this race. We've seen Tony Stewart in it. Kurt Busch has raced in this race. And some people who have gone from IndyCar to NASCAR or open wheel to NASCAR, like Danica Patrick and Juan Pablo Montoya, for example. But we don't see a lot of NASCAR going to IndyCar. We've seen Jimmy Johnson make the transition. He went from a full-time 7-time champion NASCAR career to IndyCar. He did part-time at first, then ran a full season, but he is now back at NASCAR. But we don't see a lot of transitioning the other way. This won't be a full season, obviously, for Larson, but it is going to be for the biggest race in the world. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, who's he going to race for? Which team is he going to race for? He will be racing for the McLaren team. McLaren has multiple forms of motorsport, Formula One being one of their big ones, but also, of course, IndyCar. We've seen them field cars with Fernando Alonso before. Some of their big drivers today, Pato O'Ward is one of their big names. Almost won the Indianapolis 500 just last year, finished second, I believe. So they have some young up-and-coming talent as well, but they also kind of have an extra car that they have fielded some big names. As I said, Fernando Alonso being one of the biggest, most recent names that has been in that car. So Kyle Larson will be in. Here are the details of what this car is going to be. It is a McLaren car. It's going to be McLaren in name, I believe, but it will have sponsorship from Hendrick Cars, which of course is Kyle Larson's sponsor in the NASCAR Cup Series and when he races in the Xfinity Series. And also in some of his dirt. Hendrick Cars and him have a pretty big deal together, obviously. But the car will also be co-owned by his NASCAR owner, Rick Hendrick. Of course, Rick Hendrick, we all know who he is as NASCAR fans. He's been the team owner for some of the most dominant eras in NASCAR. All 7 of Jimmy Johnson's championships, 4 Jeff Gordon championships, a Kyle Larson championship, a Chase Elliott championship, a Terry Labonte championship. One of the, if not the most successful NASCAR owners of all time is now going to be stepping into IndyCar a little bit, it looks like. So how will he do? I don't know. But the point being is that while it won't be this year, it will be 2024. Kyle Larson in the Indianapolis 500. Apparently, they were trying to get a deal together for this year. It just didn't work out, so they decided to settle for 2024. So yes, as it says here in this kind of press release from McLaren, it says that Larson, this is obviously his first Indianapolis 500, but is also Rick Hendrick's first Indianapolis 500 as a team owner. We've seen drivers do the one-offs, and this is also a big deal because of the double, of course, is a big deal because on that Sunday, on Memorial Day weekend, there's the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. The Indianapolis 500 is usually run a little bit around noon, I believe, and then the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte is run 5 or 6 p.m. So that gives you time, if you're a driver like Kyle Larson here, to race in the Indianapolis 500, try to complete all 500 miles, and then go over to Charlotte and try to complete all 600 miles to complete the double. It's been attempted before. Not sure if it's been completed, but it's been attempted. Kurt Busch got really close in 2014, I believe. Let me look that up. Well, okay. So Tony Stewart, actually, NASCAR Hall of Famer, is the only one to complete the double. He did it in 2001. He completed all 1,100 miles. So someone has done it before. It was Tony Stewart, just like Kyle Larson, a dirt guy, someone who had a lot of success in NASCAR and is looking to have some success in IndyCar as well. So, yeah. let's look at some of the quotes here. Kyle Larson said, "I'm super excited. Competing at the Indianapolis 500 is a dream of mine and something I've wanted to do for a long time. Since I was a child, before I even began competing in sprint cars. To do it with McLaren Racing and Mr. Hendrick especially is a dream come true. I'm grateful for the opportunity and I'm really looking forward to it even though it's still about a year and a half away. I'm really looking forward to competing in both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 and maybe even get a win or two that day." Zach Brown, CEO of McLaren Racing, said, "Adding Kyle Larson with the HendrickCars.com partnership to the Indy 500 lineup in 2024 is exciting for our Aero McLaren team as well as for race fans. He's a complete driver known for racing on anything on wheels, so I'm looking forward to seeing what Kyle can do in an NTT IndyCar Series car. It's been great working with Rick Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports Vice Chairman Jeff Gordon to pull this together, so a big thank you to them for what's to come in May 2024. Rick Hendrick said, "Having the opportunity to support Kyle, partner with an elite team like Aero McLaren, and promote HendrickCars.com in one of the world's greatest auto racing events is truly unique. All of us are competitors. Putting Kyle in top-level equipment and allowing ample time for him to prepare for such a difficult challenge was important. It's going to be very, very special to field a Chevrolet in the Indy 500 as a car owner. A collaboration like this was what we needed to make it happen, and fortunately the stars aligned. We're 100% committed to doing it right and looking forward to working with Zach and his organization." So it seems like some of the big things there. Obviously, Rick Hendrick had to give approval for Larson going over to run the Indianapolis 500. We have heard in the past that him and other team owners in NASCAR don't like their drivers doing this because the fact is Indy cars are much lighter than stock cars. I think 2,000 pounds lighter, and they're able to get airborne more. They also go faster than a stock car, so it's a much more dangerous thing to run on the ovals. That's why drivers in the past have cited why they don't want to run the Indianapolis 500s because of the danger. There's always danger in motor racing. It doesn't matter if it's the Indianapolis 500, Martinsville in a stock car, whatever it may be, there's always going to be danger. But the Indianapolis 500 is one of the most dangerous races. So that is why some drivers have cited not doing it and owners won't let drivers do it. So, Hendrick's finally letting him do it, or letting his drivers do it. He has opened up the past few years to letting his drivers do more. Obviously, when he brought Kyle Larson in, he had to let Larson do more dirt stuff. Chase Elliott has kind of expanded his horizons. William Byron and Alex Bowman as well. So, we've seen kind of these drivers who mainly focus on NASCAR do other things outside of NASCAR. So could this open the door for other drivers as well? Kyle Busch has expressed interest in doing the Indianapolis 500. Now that he is a Chevy team owner, a Chevy team, will Chevrolet help him get into a car? And it seems like this kind of helped with Larson as well, because IndyCar has Honda and Chevrolet as engine suppliers. Because the McLaren is a Chevrolet team, Rick Hendrick, who already obviously has an association with Chevy, was able to somehow talk to Chevy, get them into a ride with McLaren, and he wanted Larson to be competitive, which makes sense. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. Obviously, Larson is extremely talented. He can drive anything, but will he be able to compete? Will he be able to fight for the win? I don't know. As I said, he's going to be in a good car, but I don't know how he'll transition to the open wheel car. That's not a knock on him. I just really genuinely do not know how he'll do. But it'll be fun to see how that race goes for Kyle Larson, for Rick Hendrick, for McLaren, to see what that lineup's going to look like, to see how they help each other. Completely different style of racing than what Larson has seen in NASCAR, obviously. Very, very fast race cars, very light, very different style of racing as well. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, though. 500 days. The countdown is on. But Kyle Larson here is going to be competing in his first Indianapolis 500 in 2024. Let me know your thoughts. I think that's all the NASCAR news I've got for now. Yesterday we had Jimmy Johnson announcing his number, the new name for Petty GMS, the Legacy Motor Club. And then today, Kevin Harvick officially announcing his retirement after 2023, and Kyle Larson announcing that he would be joining McLaren for an Indianapolis 500 attempt. So if there's anything else, I will let you know, but it has been a big news day for motorsports, really. But We'll see if there's any other news, and if there is, I will let you know. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.